She give me top and I pipe down. Hey, she asked for top and I tell the whole pipe down. Bitch, give me pop like right now. Yeah, bitch, right now. I pop a Zango lights out. She give me top and I pipe down. Hey, she asked for top and I tell the whole pipe down. Bitch, give me
guys, Ranky Breezy back to you guys with another MHA manga chapter review. This time we have chapter 284. And guys, like, I am losing my mind. Like, Horikoshi is just going off on this arc. Like, but alright, we gotta get into it because there is so much to unpack during this chapter. It's ridiculous. So we start off Deku throwing everybody back to the ground, and he's like, you guys give Gran Torino and Aizawa first aid. And yeah, Bakugo is like, Deku, don't, like, you see the worry on Bakugo's face, and it's like, this is madness right now, in my opinion, because like, we know Bakugo has developed, but it's like, they really bros now. Like, that's really his friend. Because usually we only see Bakugo like that about like Kirishima or like vaguely Kaminari, like his friends, but like Deku and Bakugo are officially bros now. And it's like, what a time to be alive. But honestly, guys, it's so crazy to me because like Deku's like blasting off, trying to keep Shigaraki in the air, and Bakugo is like, no, bro, don't go. Which is true because it's like, out of everybody in that equation, Deku's probably the last person who should be fighting Shigaraki because Aizawa's down, and that means Shigaraki does have access to All for One, which means he could technically pickpocket One for All. But realistically, who else was gonna keep Shigaraki off the ground? Endeavor even says it, like, this is pathetic. Like, I'm the #1 hero. I should be up there. But no, that's just not the case. Not how this shit is going at all. And you know, I feel like 2 weeks ago in chapter 283 in my review, I said I feel like Deku is going to win. And like, for some odd reason, no, I take it back. I don't think Deku's gonna win. But now, hold on. Now let me preface by saying this. Like, I think Deku is trying to win because like his whole thing up until now, All Might has told him, he's come to realize this himself, Deku has to start winning these fights. You know, save people by winning. And Bakugo right now is trying to save Deku. You know, I mean, win by saving. So both sort of metas are in play right now. Deku is giving Shigaraki everything he has right now, and Bakugo is like, come on, Endeavor, like, don't miss, like, you have to hit this guy. So Bakugo's trying to get Deku out of there. And then we get some flashbacks to the time skip, that what was it, like 3-month time skip? And we get to see, like, because from our perspective, we were watching what was going on with Aizawa and his classmate and his friend. But now we get to see what Deku and Bakugo and All Might were up to in that time. And shout out to the little the water bottle with Gang Orko in it though. I felt like, I don't know why I enjoyed that so much. Don't ask me. But I thought that was really cool. But anyway, like All Might and Deku call in Sarah, Uraraka, and Sue. I'm not entirely sure why Sue is there, but Sarah and Uraraka make sense. But maybe Sue is there for something that we haven't seen yet. So keep that in mind. But yeah, like Bakugo is really like the smart guy in the room. He's like, Deku can't just keep popping out quirks and you guys just roll with it, you know? And yeah, so Uraraka, and we've all speculated this. I've said this in my previous reviews. You guys have said this in the comments on social media. Everybody has said this, that Uraraka was gonna help Deku master float. But All Might is like big brain right now, and I don't think anybody is really like appreciating it because All Might is training, like, they have the list of quirks in the notebook that All Might did his research, his due diligence, found out the predecessors' quirks and how they died for some of them, which we'll get to. But yeah, so Deku's learning how to use float before he had float, which was cool, which makes perfect sense. If you know what the quirks you're gonna be manifesting are, like, you can simulate them in certain aspects, at least with Float. We don't know what the other quirks are yet, but with Float, that was smart on All Might's part, because like now during crunch time, Deku used Float, and he's really kind of bodying Shigaraki right now with Float, Black Whip, and One for All. But that was just, in my opinion, I feel like that was a nice touch of Horikoshi's part. And plus, we got to see more of Deku and Uraraka together. You know, it's a nice ship. I can't be mad at it. But that was cool. And then we get to the meat and potatoes. You know, Bakugo's conversation with All Might. That this review was late because the chapter, I guess the fan translations came out yesterday, but I was busy, so I didn't have a chance. So today, I just waited for the official viz to come out so I could just read like the legit translations. And their conversation was very, very interesting because one, we got the confirmation, like we're living in the timeline that we all thought like down the road Bakugo was like gonna verbally apologize, and he still will, in my opinion. I think he will. But like right now, he's doing it with actions. You know, he's genuinely helping Deku train and get stronger, because Bakugo is really a prospect in his own right. He's very strong and very talented and has great combat senses. So him helping Deku is only gonna make Deku that much better. So it's like, that's really great. And then I like how Bakugo is like the only person to like really like call All Might out, so to speak. Not even so to speak, he legit calls him out, because when Bakugo was reading the notebook, when All Might first handed it over to Deku and Bakugo noticed that the details on the fourth One for All user were scarce. And you know, he's so sharp, he was just like, you had quirks, deaths for 5, 6, and 7, but you barely wrote anything for the fourth user. And that line came after All Might had said something along the lines of, not only the wicked seek power. And I just find it so, because like originally, like I think like a year, almost 2 years ago now, when we first got introduced to Black Whip in the manga, I felt like I just couldn't see like every One for All user being like squeaky clean, because One for All as a quirk came from All for One, so its origins is villainy. And so in my mind, I felt like maybe there was one guy in there somewhere who wasn't like a pure hero, like Nana Shimura, All Might, Deku. And maybe this is kind of like fueling my speculation now that we have like these scarce details on the fourth, and All Might's like, and Bakugo is so inquisitive about it all. He's like, what, like, why, like, what are you hiding? Did you find out something about One for All? And All Might, he kind of deflects. He's like, I haven't found anything concrete yet. But, and then he kind of like flips it on Bakugo, and he's like, you're concerned for Deku. And then we get some more Bakugo kind of like explaining like his perspective on their friendship when they were kids, because they weren't really friends, because Bakugo even says it, like he just couldn't really understand why Deku was so kind, and like he couldn't recognize his own weakness, so that drove him to bully Deku. And I felt like this is what we read MHA for. Development, character development, people, you know, self-reflecting, looking at themselves and thinking like, I was such like an asshole. And All Might draws that comparison between Bakugo and Endeavor. And I think it's really good that Bakugo was able to self-reflect while he's still a teenager. Endeavor has one of the greatest redemption arcs in the series, but it came really late in his life at the expense of his wife, his children, and like the people that he should be holding dearest to him in life. So Bakugo figuring out this about himself this early on in his life is only gonna make him that much better later in life, in my opinion. But yeah, Bakugo is like legitimately concerned for Deku, and he was saying like, you know, Deku never really thinks about himself. He's always just doing for other people. So it's kind of like, you know, like what it feels like to me is now, like, we have Uraraka already, who's like the hero who saves heroes, who's always in the mix saving Deku's ass. And now Bakugo's starting to get some of that as well. He's like, okay, Deku's gonna be the guy. Like, he's gonna surpass All Might, because Deku is a purebred hero. He has a kind heart, and he has arguably the strongest quirk in the series. I say arguably because you can toss All For One and Ares quirk in there and things could get a little but one of arguably. And Bakugo is just like, it feels like Bakugo is, his role in this is going to be to, in this current arc, in this battle between Deku and Shigaraki, because after that flashback, Bakugo is like thinking to himself, like, yo, he tells Endeavor straight up, like, he doesn't give a damn that Endeavor's number one here. He's like, yo, don't you miss this. And if you look at that panel, Bakugo looks like he's grabbing Endeavor's arm and he's about to like use X catapult or something, and he might shoot Endeavor at Shigaraki, so that way Deku doesn't have to keep just blasting Shigaraki with 100%, because Deku is doing, like, giving himself permanent damage at this point, because he says his left arm's already busted from using 2 100% smashes, so it's like bound by Black Whip. Excuse me. And everybody in the community, and myself included, is speculating that Deku might lose an arm soon. And that is just like my son, my little green seed, Deku, losing an arm. But it's for the greater good. But I'm just curious to see how Bakugo is going to get involved in this fight, because Bakugo isn't going to be on the sidelines. He's been on the sideline. He got involved, you know, at the beginning of the fight with Shigaraki when they still had Aizawa to neutralize his quirk. But I think Bakugo is going to get in here because, like I said at the beginning of the review, Deku is trying to win and Bakugo is trying to save. Deku can't beat Shigaraki yet. Like, he's not able to use full cowl at 100%, pull out his other quirks, and just be fine. He just can't yet. So the win is off the table now. But now that we have this development of Bakugo, you know, realizing the wrong that he's done and genuinely feeling concerned for Deku, I feel like Bakugo will save Deku somehow. And then there's still Michiya out there somewhere destroying cities on his way to Shigaraki. So it's like, you really got to keep the entire scenario in your mind at all times, because it's so easy to get caught up in this hype that is this chapter 284, because it is so hype that we forget Michiya, and literally all of Shigaraki's friends are on Michiya's back on their way to go pay old Shiggy a visit. So this is phenomenal, man. And please, you guys, get in the comment section and let me know your theories about the 4th One For All user, because, like, I feel like maybe he wasn't like a villain, but maybe he wasn't excuse me, like a legitimate hero. Maybe he was just like using One For All for self-serving purposes, excuse me. And then All For One found out about it and tried to kill him and take the quirk back. But during their little scuffle, like, the 4th user at the end of his life just passes it off to, I think, Hellboy, who's number 5. I think. Or is it? Yeah, Hellboy's number 5. And then it's the dark-haired guy with the coat that covers his mouth, then Nana, then All Might, then Deku. So yeah, so I'm really curious about that 4th user, man. What was his quirk? And we gotta remember, All For One still has some connection to One For All, because he could hear the first user's voice in his head. So that makes me think maybe either All For One tapped into One For All with the 4th user, or something was going on between the 4th user and All For One. Maybe. I'm just so curious to see, just to know, like, what was going on, because All Might looked legitimately concerned and he didn't want to say anything to Deku because he wanted to get all the facts first. This is just, it's so much. I'm just so hyped. Like, Image A is just so great. I don't understand how people could just experience this series. It's fine that you don't like it, but to say it's trash, never. But that's gonna do it for this review, guys. I'm so excited to hop into the comments this week with you guys and hear your thoughts, your opinion, your theories, because I have so many myself, and I'm gonna have a few videos coming out over the course of this week with all my theories and trying to like just talk to you guys in some of these discussion videos, and look forward to it because I am. But as always, I've been Reezy. You guys just got wrecked, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Peace.